Attention! This video is sponsored by Snowmans.
Hello, it's Minitron, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Macmillan main buildings. I'm going to explain both how to loop them as a survivor and how to chase the survivors in them as a killer. And you just got to remember that this mostly applies to M1 4.6 meters per second killers, because if the killers are having chasing powers, and these loops and main buildings play out completely differently. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Okay, so we start from the Suffocation pit, and this main building has two global variations. Let me just introduce you real quick that this is a window, this is a breakable wall, and this is a pallet, okay? Well, so this main building has two main variations, with window spawning here and a breakable wall next to it, and with a window right there and a breakable wall spawning over here. So let's analyze them one by one. Also, these loops are a bit variable, so this loop I think can spawn towards this wall over here, and this one can also spawn over here, maybe over here. So you gotta watch out for all that random. Well, so let's look at the left variation first. This is a pretty good one of survivor. The general looping direction of survival would be here, because he gets the fast vault, and if you're a killer, you always would want to chase him in the other direction from here and loop around here, but he will still get the medium vault, and that's gonna be probably enough to loop you 3 times on this and then go and use this pallet and then maybe go somewhere else. So that's not very good, and for that reason it's pretty good to break this wall and follow the survivor over here, and then if you chase him in this particular direction, he doesn't get much distance out of it, and he's forced to use this pallet faster, which is good for you as a killer. Also, this window can face completely nothing and can be lined up with a little loop. So if you're a killer, you would want to chase survivor in this. If you're a killer, you would want to chase survivor to this part of the building, because it's not really good for them. Only thing you need to do is zone the survivor out of this window, and don't loop him mindlessly like this, so he gets the fast vault. Just occupy the pallet and try to get a hit on him, because this loop is very unsafe. This is more safer loop around some obstacles. It can also be played around, but it's kind of hard. It's faster usually to break it. Okay, let's take a look at another variation of this main structure. And this is quite different, because right now survivor would want to loop you from here, and so that he gets the fast vault, you would want to chase him from here so that he's forced to get a middle vault, and he will have to drop this pallet quicker, and you don't actually have to break any walls in this variation, because if survivor tries to run to this wall while you're chasing him in this direction, you'll probably make it, because this window doesn't give him much distance. If he already has distance, then it's a problem, yeah, but you can play around this window. It's much better for survivor than in this variation because of the long wall, and survivors can actually play around it, fake it, maybe go around, but they cannot really play around it a lot. Also, you need to note that right here there is a drop, so if survivor tries to loop this window just by itself, he'll probably fail and you will catch up before he makes it to the window. So as a survivor, if the killer is chasing you from here, you can try to, and you have some distance, you can try to use this window, and then if the killer comes this way, you can try to go here and still get the fast vault on this window, chaining this into this pallet, and that would be quite good. But if you try to abuse it, the killer can break this pallet after all. And that's probably it. The Suffocation Pit, I think, is the least strong of these main buildings on Macmillan, so let's go to the next one. Okay, so let's give some words to Ironworks of Misery. This main building has two floors, the upper floor on the left and the bottom floor on the right. Let's start from the bottom floor. It has a constantly spawning window here, constantly spawning pallet here, and constantly spawning pallet here. This pallet is very weak because the killer can go around it in 2 seconds, so the best thing survivor can do is stun the killer on it. This pallet is safer and very hard to mind game if you're a regular killer. Then this building has a wall over here, which I actually don't recommend breaking, but we are gonna get to it later. What can survivor do with this building? He can loop over here or over here through this window. I'm pretty sure he can get fast vaults in both directions. So it doesn't really matter in which direction the killer will be chasing. This window is still not gonna give survivors much, but that's not if you break this wall. Because if you break this wall, suddenly survivors can loop into this window again very fast. And they can loop it again, and then they make it to some pallet that's conveniently placed right there. So you gotta watch out for surroundings of all of those main buildings, and you try not to push survivors into those strong areas. You try to push them into weak areas, and this building is weak, so you can actually push survivors into it with a great effect. and breaking this wall doesn't really help you. Only for maybe for mobility you can destroy it, but for looping I don't advise that. So there's also the upper floor over here, and basically you come from downside here over here, and you come from downside here over here. And upstairs there are two variations of breakable wall and pallet spawning. So the window can spawn also here with a breakable wall next to it, and here it will be just a door frame and a wall instead of the window. So those variations are pretty much the same. Doesn't really matter which one you get. You as a killer need to be mindful of that. If survivor takes you here for the first time, you'll probably need to break this wall so that they can't take you here the second time. But if you really need hit on survivor, it might be faster to go through this window one time. But you need to understand that survivors can take you there again and waste a little bit more of your time. Also, there is a cute little drop from here down here, from which you can actually make it to some pallets. And once this pallet is gone, this window, this main building becomes not really that great for survivors. They can't really do much, only this poor window and window upstairs. If the killer breaks the wall, this window becomes very empty for survivors and kind of weak. So basically that's it for the Ironworks of Misery. Okay, let's take a look at the main building of Coal Tower. On the left is the upper floor, while on the right is the bottom floor. And basically you can go through here, upstairs, and then drop over here. And also you need to know that this window has two variations. It can alternatively spawn here with a straight wall there. So we're gonna take a look at both window spawnings. First, let's take a look at this bottom floor. It has a set of breakable walls. Also around this building there are some structures. There is a little car loop and a little obstacle loop. This one is much unsafer. The car loop is harder to mind game, it's better. Basically you have two breakable walls in this building, and while they're not broken with this window variation, survivor has a very good day here. He just goes for this window and fast vaults it, and you have a hard time playing around it. He can go all the way around and fast vault it again if you come from that side. If you come from the other side, he can just run away to wherever corner of the map, because you cannot cover these distances in the chase. If you try to vault against this, he can just run away, he can just run here again, and you're not catching him. So you would probably need to break one of the walls. At first, I recommend breaking this wall with the window here, so that if survivor is trying to go here, you can just simply go around this window and catch him before he makes it to this pallet with ideal distance, or make him force him to drop this pallet earlier. After that, you can also break the other wall, making this window even weaker. Because after you break this wall, the survivor cannot loop this way, but he can still loop this way. And it's gonna be quite annoying for you to go around this. And if you want to make this window even weaker, you can break this. Another wall. Well, going upstairs for survivor doesn't give him quite much. Um, because if he drops from here, there is nothing, and he only loses distance because he drops and gets a stagger effect, while you, as a killer, recover faster. Also, regarding the upstairs, you should never break these walls because survivor who is working on generator here would have more escape options, which will make him more unpredictable for you to catch. And so basically the upper floor is not that good as the bottom floor. So after you break both walls on the bottom floor, it's quite alright. You also need to watch out for RNG because this little loop can spawn also next to this window or maybe over here, and you need to watch out for it and make decisions accordingly. This one car loop can also spawn here with another car, so you also need to understand which RNG you get. Let's take a look at the variation if the window spawns here. Well, in that variation, the survivor is actually having a good day too, because he can vault this window from here very safely. He can see over these little obstacles. When he's here, he can vault backwards if you're coming through this way easily. So this window is very, very hard to mind game. So if the survivor are getting this window, I recommend breaking this wall immediately because it will make this loop much quicker. He will just run like here, and you will catch up to him much quicker, following just around it. And you'll force him to drop this pallet. Breaking this wall in this variation is not very good because it really doesn't make much sense in terms of this window. Survivor will rarely loop this because it's very inefficient. You can just easily mind game if survivor tries to loop here. For example, you show here a light and go over here, then moonwalk here and get him before he makes it to the window. So this in this variation, I do not recommend you breaking this wall. Also, one thing the survivor can do in this variation, he can run upstairs and drop and vault this window before you get there. But it's not very efficient. That doesn't give him much distance, especially if you broke this wall and you just go around it. Also, you can launch from upstairs to turn back quicker, and also you don't have the stagger effect when you land, so that's very good. And well, that's pretty much it for the call tower. It's a pretty decent structure for survivors because it forces killers to break some walls, and it's also good for killers. Once you know which walls you need to break, you can actually play around this with no problem. And the last main structure to which we are gonna take a look at is the Groaning storehouse, and it's probably the best main structure out of all Macmillan main buildings for survivors. Mainly because of these two fixed windows, which spawn always on the same places. This window has also a breakable wall next to it, and if the killer doesn't break it, it becomes just a nightmare. So as a killer, I recommend you breaking this wall as soon as possible, maybe even before survivors make it here. It's gonna help you a lot because this building is always in the center of the map and you can't ignore it. I recommend breaking this wall. Also, you need to mind that these pallets can also spawn here, but it doesn't influence much. You just have to watch out for that. And what's the main strategy of Survivor on this structure? So Survivor can loop this window and chain it with this window. And after he is finally forced to leave it or the windows gets broken, he can maybe chain it with something else strong over here, down there, or maybe with some of the pallets which spawns inside. That's the main strength of this structure. So let's take a closer look at this. This window is very safe for survivors. If the survivor is here, he can look over some holes in the wall and see if the killer comes this way. And also, if the killer is coming from here, he can see him through this vault. So this is very safe. From this position, survivor is absolutely safe, and he cannot be minded in any way. Any hiding of the red light here and waiting, it's just not gonna work if survivor is smart and he's looking here, 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 here. It's just not gonna work. He's gonna just fast forward this or fast forward that, and there's no escaping this. Which are the directions in which survivors can loop those windows? Actually, they can loop this window in both directions. So if they come through here, they can probably make it here again if they have a big distance. If they don't, they can try to go for this window, but it's actually gonna be unsafe. But the problem is if survivor has a lot of distance on you in this structure, he's gonna make it hard to catch up. That's the main strength. And if survivor is forced from this side, okay, then you just vault this windows mediumly and then go here and fast vault this, and you're in this superposition in which you see the killer from here, and you can maybe go for this window again, maybe go for this window again, and you're having a very, very great day. So, as a killer, you need to also understand that this window is unmine gameable because there are not only holes in this wall, there are also holes in those walls, and you cannot mind game that either. So if survivor is vaulting here, or if survivor is vaulting here and you're trying to catch him off guard, you hide your red light and you walk backwards over here and you try to catch him, that's just not gonna work if survivor is smart and he's looking through the little holes in the windows. And basically you kind of want to avoid this structure. So the best plan you have with killer on this structure is breaking this wall immediately and not going for survivor here if he feels competent and confident, and if he has a good distance on you. If he has a low distance and he goes for this vault, you can go around him and hit him before he makes it there. Or the same goes after this. If he has little distance on you, this is pretty easy because you can actually hit them. But you don't need to chase survivors in here if they have 10-meter distance on you or more, because they're just gonna make it so hard to catch up, looping these windows and chaining them together, and after the windows are dropped, they basically want to go to the pallet, drop the pallet, mind game, maybe not mind game, just run away straight and go for the pallet again. And this is really, really hard. No real way to mind game any of those windows, making this very hard for the killers to play around. And mostly I would suggest you use your chasing power or any power at all that you have that can help you in chase. So Wraith can maybe come and body block one of those windows because he's faster than survivors and he's very fast now. The Trapper can trap this window, making survivors step on it or ignore it, which are both good. As a Huntress, you can lift up a hatchet here and throw through this window. As a Demo, you can ready up a shred and shred to this window. And yeah, use your best tools to deal with those windows. That's my best advice. So that's about it. We covered all the Macmillan buildings. Hope you learned a thing or two from this video. I'm also going to do the same analysis for the structures and the main buildings of Coldwind and the Outer Heaven because they're very common. And tell me if you like this format in the comments, and you can always like and subscribe if you like the video and want to see more guides like that. And yeah, that's probably it. See you in the next one.